Okay, we are back at the final haul. One thing I'm going to do here, you guys don't have to do this at home if you don't want to, but the all this stuff with doing the colors and exploding the view and stuff like that, we don't need to do that when it's just the points or when it's just the texture and stuff. Basically, on some of these guys, we just need this. On some of the menu options, when show is basically 0 or when it's 1 or when it's 2, we do when it's 3. I think it's like 3, 5, 7, 8, that kind of thing. So I'm going to put one other thing down here, and then I'm going to put a little if statement that's going to basically say if that is 3, 5, 7, or 8, we're going to do things, otherwise we're not. I'm going to call that only do on chunks. Does that make sense? In other words, all the stuff over here I only want to do on chunks. You can pretty much guess what the equation is going to be here. Basically saying when show is 3, 5, 7, or 8, we want to do the chunk thing, otherwise we don't. Okay? That's kind of our last little hurrah. And just because I always tell you guys to do this, so I'm going to do it. The final thing we always call output, and we make it black because that's what outputs are. Okay, so let's go up here and take a look. When it's the wall texture guy, then it really doesn't make sense to these other guys. I don't know, it might be cool to make a blank wall. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm really saying is that when things like cut points, I don't want this stuff to screw up the cut points and stuff. So that's really why I did that. This is what's going to happen like when we have stones, then it makes sense to wanting to do blank, wanting to do the random color, wanting to do the textured, wanting to do the random colored textured. Let me put this to smooth so you can see these guys. And whether or not we want to explode it and stuff like that. Similarly, for the mortar bits, it's useful to have it like that and be able to explode it. And you might want to have it blank, or you might want to have it just textured, and so forth. The only last things I just realized want to do is the button that, I guess I do one more thing. Okay, our guy is normally going to be like this, but we're going to use this in other cases. And remember this guy up here, this guy. Right now he always goes to this specific thing. I'm just going to bubble up the geometry file name and this button here. And I'm going to call it bake. It'll be a big giant button because that's the one where it has to sit there and wait for like 6 minutes. So when I do this on other stuff, we're going to copy and paste this thing since it's a digital asset. We're going to make other versions of this little image breaker guy. So I want to actually bubble up that guy. So let's go to type properties, parameters, and from the nodes, specifically in here from the bake mortar bits, somewhere in here, there's the geometry file. Okay, so it's kind of important. I'm going to put it up at the top, and I'm going to call it, what should we call it? I'm going to call it like it's basically the mortar bits file name. Well, let's call it that, mortar bits file name. That sounds good. Mortar bits file name. Ba-dunk-dunk. Beauty of bubbling up is that it'll already have the defaults that we did before. So I want to have that there, and then if you look inside of here, the button to actually save the file, this thing, the render execute, I'm also going to put that over. And that's actually just a button. So I'm going to call it bake, and since it takes a while, I'm going to put it in big old capital letters. I'm going to leave it on, just change that guy. Boom, hitting apply. You may have to wait while it does that fluid density thing again. Actually, I'll have to wait on that on apply and accept. That's why I probably should turn my auto update off for a second. It's just going through right now, so it'll take about 2 more seconds. So once we're done here, bum, 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 you see it has this guy, where it's getting it from, and then this big button to bake. That's where the cool stuff's going to be from. And I'll tell you why. Because now, let's say we've got, remember, this whole gag is just taking a wall and just going from that amount of geometry, which is nothing, and a picture that we made another picture of, and then breaking things up. And the beauty of it is now we can hit tab, say image breaker, do this top guy. And we should have another version of it with bake, with all this other stuff. And this one I'll call brick wall. We'll make another one over here. It's got to be purple because that's the important thing. Maybe this color purple? I don't know. I'll do this one for stone wall. So now you pretty much get where I'm going with this. We're going to test our stuff out on a new image. Remember our stone cuts? Or wait a minute, what is it? Stone image? We want the image first. Stone image and stone cuts. Stone cuts. So over here, we show the wall. Nifty. Works on the other thing. I actually want to go all the way through this. A couple things I would do different on this guy, or about to get the sims. Don't worry, I know you're all excited about the sim. I just want to show you for the stone wall, we're going to do the same exact sim with a couple of these things to show it works in several different ways. The things we did different, remember we had things like, you know, the texture stretching stuff. We didn't want to do it on, we did want to do it on this guy. I really should have had it on the thing it's sitting and waiting. We wanted to do it on this guy because we liked that. On this guy, it actually would make sense to just stretch it like that. And the other thing that'll make sense when we go through and do it is, let's take a look at our cut points. Cool, huh? What do we do? Actually, that looks shockingly well. Some of the things I might want to do, like the flatten thing, we did do over here, but we left it off by default in poly reduce. And I'm going to say we don't want to do that on the stones. And what else do we have? Percentage of cut points for the mortar. What does that look like? Might do fewer of those too. Texturing, we have our angle thing. Well, that actually looks surprisingly good. I feel like we would have made more changes, but I guess not. Some things we might do, like the smoothing iterations. Remember in this guy we had our smoothing iterations? Okay, I'll just actually do it. I was not going to do it because I don't want you to wait through it, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the stones button. Right now it's going to do the fluid density. It's doing it on a completely different image, completely different thing, and yet, bing, bang, boom. There we have it. If you wanted your rocks like that, which actually looks surprisingly cool, I guess I thought I was going to say having more smoothing iterations might be good, like doing 2 here. See how that gives these guys kind of smooth edges? I guess in some cases you want, like if this was flat rock that was on a ground or something, you might not. I feel like on a wall I do want it, just because I feel like it looks neat. And also there's a tutorial and I want to show the other stuff this can do. It's cool. So let's leave the smoothing iterations up on that. And you know, now you can see this is already getting kind of funny. Fun. Adaptivity might keep the same. Might change the influence scale if we do it and so forth. We'll make another one. Let's make another one for that other wall, that stony wall. Oh, actually, wait. Let's take a look at the mortar. Bum, 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 bum. Wow, that's pretty cool, huh? Actually, this is pretty awesome. I'm going to hit the bake button on. Ooh, let's give this a different name, though. This will be called stone mortar bits. I'm going to hit the bake button on this guy, and then I'm going to put both these guys through a simulation. And you know something? Let's go ahead and do that other. Didn't I make another one? Another stony brick wall? Oh, I guess I didn't. Maybe we'll make another set of images too, just for fun, and we'll throw that. And then we'll have this wall break through them, and then that'll be it. Okay, so I'm going to hit the bake button. Ooh, there are some differences we make. Look at this. That we want. So that probably means that our cut points are either too thin there, or there was, remember our, what is it called, our threshold, our brightness threshold? We might want to change that. Let's take a look at the mortar again. See how the mortar's doing that? What happens if we made the brightness threshold lower, like that? Let it go through and see how that does stuff. Still not super great. What if we had more points? Maybe it doesn't have enough points to get into those little nooks and crannies of those little guys. Let's see what that, there we go. Might need a little bit more, or we might beef up the image. Yeah, maybe we'll do a little testing. Anyway, I'm going to change a couple other numbers so this looks cool, and then when you come back, we're going to throw it through the simulation and have fun. By now, you've already gotten the cool stuff, but we're going to do a couple other cool things at the end, so come back for one more lesson. See you soon.